Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the J Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Nowakowski, and with me today, I got a special guest, George Martin. He's a part of the 2.5 Hoopers podcast, and if you are wondering, he is the half in 2.5 Hoopers.
Oh no.
George, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. But yeah, so it's you, Jacob Leeman, Josh Rhodes. So they're the two Hoopers, but you're the half Hooper. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, I was called the half hooper. I don't know why, but unfortunately, I have that title now. So
Yep, and it's never going away. It's never gonna go away. So we're gonna talk some basketball. We're gonna be talking some football because Skull Vikings over here.
yes,
And
sir.
yeah, let's get just straight into it. Last night, Anthony Davis coming back for the first time after missing a couple games. And man, he went out. He balled out 35 points, pretty effective shooting. And most importantly, a Lakers dub that wasn't in overtime.
Finally, if they went to 4 straight overtimes, I think LeBron would not have even came out on the court.
Right. Seriously. I mean, another 40 plus minute game for him. And man, he'd be like, all right, I need a week off. But
He
yeah,
deserves it. I hope he takes some time off.
for sure. I mean, I would even I said it on yesterday's podcast, which just came out. Like, I'm with you guys where I don't think there should be an all-star game. Do it the way the NFL did it, like the Pro Bowl. Have a 2K tournament for the people that want to be a part of it, but let LeBron get vacation time and do what he wanted to do, That's where I'm at with the whole thing.
Yeah, it just seems rushed because they were promised that they weren't getting an all-star game, and then all of a sudden a week ago they're making plans to throw it in Atlanta on March 7th. And just we talked about it on our podcast too. The way that they're trying to set everything up just seems really rushed, and I would hate for,
Yeah.
everyone's coming from all over the country into one market, and then if there's a breakout, everyone goes back, and then we have to postpone games again. And I mean, thank God, luckily we've been lucky the last few weeks. There hasn't been as many postponed games as there was to start the year.
Yeah, for sure. I'm totally with you. And then and you guys talked about it, which I didn't even hear about that, but it was the dunk contest going on at halftime. And I'm like, okay, the dunk contest is like one of the only good things about the All-Star game for the NBA. Like if you're gonna do it, make it its own separate thing. I mean, the All-Star game itself until last year, I mean, it was just a high scoring offensive game, but then you had the target score, which I think is something they should keep. But yeah, I'm with you. I think, if they're going to do something like this, have a dunk contest, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of throwing the All-Star game this year. I'm okay with it being taken a year off. No, the NFL did a Madden tournament. The NHL's not doing it. MLB didn't do it. Why does the NBA have to do it?
Money talks, unfortunately.
Uh,
Money talks.
Seriously. But the Lakers last night. So AD dropped 35. But I mean, I don't know if I want to say underrated performance, but I think one of the best performances of the game was Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma had 20 points, but the offensive rebounding was absolutely
Exactly, yes.
insane. And he's really embraced that role this year, which is really awesome to see him do that.
Yeah, I call it he plays winning basketball because on championship teams, you need guys that'll go all out effort wise to get those hustle rebounds, those hustle plays. I mean, he's gotten a plethora of chase down blocks this season too, which is something we hadn't
Yep.
seen from him last season. And he had that problem last year, and even LeBron said it before the season. They needed him to be the third guy in order for them to win the title. And we saw that it wasn't. It was just LeBron and AD do their thing, both put up 25, and someone just has to have like a double-digit game. It would be KCP would have it, playoff Rondo, even AC when he started a game 6. So I'm glad to see that he's reshaped his role. And Jared Dudley says it, star in your role, which he's doing greatly. And I mean, if he keeps getting those offensive rebounds, it'll be such a great thing for our team.
Right. Yeah. I was watching. Yeah. Last night in the fourth quarter, there were like 3 straight possessions where he was just got an offensive rebound. And I most of them led to buckets too. I mean, there was one where he got a weird, like he tipped it up, but it was more like he smacked it with his fist and it went in. And then he grabbed another offensive rebound and went straight to the 3-point line and just hucked it, went in. I mean, he's really embraced that role. And I mean, with so many scorers on this team, AD, LeBron, Schroeder, Montrez, he's been a beast. And then you have Kuzma. I mean, you have 5 guys who can go off for 20, 25 any given night, which is just insane.
Yeah, and I think that's why we feel the same like with LeBron. Like we have the depth to go beat teams, especially like
Yeah.
teams like the Grizzlies, the Thunder. Like we're able to sit him and then, insert Kuzma into the lineup, insert Trez or Wes Matthews. Those guys can score. So I get why he's playing. I think he's trying to go for his 5th MVP, but I don't want him to get hurt and not have him come playoff time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you guys said it, but yeah, Braun knows his body best. He's not going to overdo it. He knows when he needs to go hard and when he doesn't. So I'm not too worried about that. But your Greek freak friend Giannis, I saw he said something about the Utah Jazz that I wanted to ask you about. He said the Jazz are the best in the West. So what are they the best in the West? I mean, I know
Record-wise, they are.
record-wise, but are they the team to beat in the West?
Team to beat? No, it's definitely the reigning champs of the team to beat in the West. Anytime the team's coming off a championship, they're the team to beat, unless like the Raptors when they lost Kawhi, they weren't going to make it far. They've played extreme. Their 3-point shooting is insane. I mean, they're shooting like over 40%. Their defense has been interesting. Do I want to call them the best? I'm not. I think they're right behind the Lakers, because the Lakers defense is suffocating. First defense and first overall net rating, and it's not even close. The second defensive team.
Yeah.
The problem with the Jazz, I mean, I know they just beat the Bucks, but before that, I don't want to sound like they've played nobody, because people tried to say that to the Lakers last year, but I mean, they have a really tough stretch of games going. They play the Heat tonight, so if they already beat the Clippers. If they run off some of these games, I'll feel more confident about them.
Okay, yeah, and I believe it's Wednesday the 24th is Lakers Jazz, and the Lakers, I think they play Denver tomorrow, and then the Lakers play Brooklyn comes to town next week. So there's
That's
some
gonna
really
be.
there's and there, there's good those are going to be some really good games. If so, those 3 games that I just mentioned, how many do the Lakers win?
You said the Jazz, Denver, and Brooklyn.
Yeah, Denver comes to town tomorrow, Brooklyn next week, and the 24th is Utah.
I'm gonna be a little overly optimistic. I'll say 2 out of 3.
Okay,
And
who's the loss to?
you know what? I feel they might drop this game to Denver tomorrow,
Okay.
because we already played them, and I just have a feeling, if AD maybe he doesn't end up playing, I think we're able to beat the Nets, and then the Jazz AD usually always takes that matchup personal against Gobert. Like, he hung 40 on him in the bubble
Yeah, he
last
always
year,
wants that. Yeah.
and I mean I could see us going 1-3 worst case scenario. I don't think we lose all of those games, so I'll say 2 out of 3.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on the optimism. I think they could sweep all 3, but I think 2 out of 3 is a realistic look. I'm with you. I think Denver could be the team to beat them. Utah, I'm right there. AD loves that matchup with Gobert. He takes it. Jordan, I took that personally. And Brooklyn, they're an offensive team. The Lakers are a defensive team. We know who wins those matchups. Just look at the Super Bowl as an example, even though
Defense
it's a
wins
different sport.
championships.
Yep, I've been preaching that. Yeah, I don't Brooklyn, I mean, it might be a close game, but I see the Lakers really handing it to Brooklyn, and they're going to need a reality check on that defense after they play the Lakers. And with that, we are going into this football news. Yes,
Alrighty.
I have a Vikings fan with me to talk. So sorry if you're not a Vikings fan, you can skip through this part. It's fine. We don't care. But Vikings fans, stay here with this. So the Vikings had an off year, but it was a year where, yeah, they were off, but there's a lot of promise there with Justin Jefferson, who should have been Rookie of the Year. But
Yes.
yeah, I won't talk about that yet, because Charger fans will come at me with that one. But you had a lot of offensive production. The defense had some injuries and opt-outs, which really, it took a toll, and the young corners got better as the season went on. But currently the Vikings have the 14th draft pick. Where is that draft pick going? What's the need? Is it an offensive lineman, which they've drafted in the past? Is it someone on the defensive lineman, or is it another offensive weapon?
So I was looking through like mock drafts and stuff, and yeah, we have the 14th pick. There's 2 people that struck my eye, and it's Christian Barmore. He's a D lineman from Alabama. He's 6'5", 310, a huge guy on the inside. Yeah, he recorded 8 sacks last year, and we have good edges. We have Daniil Hunter, Odenigbo, and we have someone else, but I forgot his name. So we're set there. Obviously,
Michael Pierce wasn't opt out, but he's the guy in the middle.
Yes.
He's the nose
so,
tackle.
But to put him next to Pierce would be nice. And then for O-Lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker from SC, 6'4", 315, big guy. He played tackle this season, but he originally played O guard his first 2 years. So the versatility helps because I don't think we're gonna bring Riley Rife back because people were
Mm,
saying he's at 11 mil if we cut him. That's how much we save. And
yeah.
with our team, we don't have our cap is a bad situation. We took
Yeah.
Ezra Cleveland last year in the second round, so he's there at O tackle. We have Bradbury in the middle. So I feel like with a guy who can play either or, it's good to have that, especially with injuries.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. If the offensive lineman, I want I want the guy from USC. He's an animal. Um, so you brought up the Riley Reef situation, which because I listened to Vikings podcast like throughout the day, along with Two and a Half Hoopers. Go watch that one and listen to that one. Yes, and and so I think so. The Vikings did an interesting thing. So Riley Reef in his contract had a thing. If he starts every game of the year, he got a $1 million contract bonus. In week 17, he got put on the COVID list, so yesterday the Vikings just gave him a $1 million bonus, basically to say, okay, that was a meaningless game. And I think it helped that relationship. A lot of people said maybe Reef might restructure a second time. I don't know if he will. Because the thing is, if you release him, you have to find someone to replace him. And he was probably our best offensive lineman, him and Brian O'Neill. Um,
Yes, O'Neill's the other
but yeah,
tackle.
one edge guy that you didn't mention, but I think is a good fit is Gregory Rousseau. He's an edge rusher from the University of Miami. He had 15 and a half sacks last season, but not a lot of them were off the edge. He likes the inside more, but I think you can try him out back at edge, but 15 and a half sacks. He's still so the weird part about him is he's a converted wide receiver in high school.
Wow,
So the
that is
dude,
interesting.
he's a speed guy. He gets to you quickly. He doesn't have the greatest finesse moves, but his speed just kills. So he's another interesting one. A lot of I've seen a lot of mocks where like if Jamar Chase or someone like that, a wide receiver fell, you take that third weapon. I'm personally against that because you have Jefferson, you have Thielen, and you have Irv Smith. You have three top targets. I think Kyle Rudolph is gone on the Vikings, by the way. I think he's out. Save eight.
Smith outplayed him. Yeah.
Smith outplayed him, and then Rudolph said, well, I want a different role. I don't like my blocking role. It's like, well, then you're useless. So get out of here, Um, saves us 8 million, but the cap's about going to be about 180 million. So the Vikings need to find 11 million just to get to the cap, and then they need to leave some more because they need to sign some offensive tackles and
Yeah,
stuff.
and like I said, Reef, if we cut him, we save exactly that 11 mil. So I mean, it
Yeah.
kind of like works out perfectly if we cut him.
Yeah, and and I guess this might just be a dream thing because I would love to see it happen. I mean, maybe not this particular quarterback, but if if I'm going to throw out two quarterbacks, I just want to know if they're there, if you're the Vikings, do you take them? The first one is someone dropping a lot and I don't understand why is Justin Fields. And
Wow.
Justin Fields has dropped in a lot of mock drafts. I mean, they have him going after Trey Lance. I've seen some. If Justin Fields is there at 14, do you take him?
Yes, a
Okay.
1,000%. And he can be a wait and see. Like, I mean, if you want to
Yes.
keep Kirk, you wait until the end of his contract because like look what Green Bay did. They traded up to get Jordan Love, and it doesn't look like he's gonna play anytime soon with
Nope.
Aaron Rodgers still playing at
Nope.
elite level. And I mean,
Yeah.
I would have thought Fields was going to the Jets or
Right
like
now, everyone loves Zach Wilson, which he's a great quarterback. But if you I watched that game against Coastal Carolina, who they were a good team this year. Wilson looked real uncomfortable. I think he'll be a good NFL quarterback, but I don't think he's the number 2 pick. A lot of people also have Devontae Smith going to the Jets at number 2, which I think Jamar Chase, he didn't play this year, so everyone's not talking about him. I think he's a better receiver than Devontae Smith is. That's just my opinion. But yeah, if Fields is there at 14, take him. But another one who he will be there at 14, he will for sure be there at 14, Mac Jones.
interesting. I don't know. I kind of have a thing with like Alabama quarterbacks where I mean, not many of them have panned out well. I
No.
mean, and here's the thing. I mean, Alabama basically has the top prospect at like every position, and they're playing with all pro receivers and tight ends and running backs. And Tua hasn't even looked. I mean, Herbert went right after him, and Herbert won Rookie of the Year. So
Yeah.
I'm less opposed to drafting him.
Mhm.
And I mean, it just depends. Like, if we trade Kirk, if we keep him, I'm not. I would rather go elsewhere to try and help us win now instead of.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna draft a quarterback, then get Kirk out of there for picks, and then get more defensive or O-line help.
Yeah, for sure. So and then, well, that yeah, let Kirk Cousins. Do you think he gets traded this offseason? Because so this next year he has a $40 million cap hit, which is 33% of the Vikings cap space. So they can hold him on to this year, but they either need to restructure that, or they need to trade him, or they need to cut him. I don't know what happens, but do you think Kirk gets traded this offseason?
I don't think so. I would be kind of surprised. The only way I see him getting traded is if it's for like a young, like a Deshaun Watson, which I highly doubt. I don't
Yeah.
see us, because I know you sent me a rumor where like we could get either Teddy B or Jimmy G. The Teddy B one though I did like, because
I
I mean
love the Teddy
he's
B
young.
one.
We do get an eighth pick. So if we do trade Kirk and get like a top 10 pick, I'm fine with that, because then we have the eighth pick, our 14th pick, and Teddy B, who had a underwhelming year, but he's solid. But I don't see us moving on from him this season at
Okay.
least.
Yeah, so that Carolina Panthers thing. So that was a trade they offered Detroit for Stafford. Now the consensus was Stafford is better than Kirk. They are very similar quarterbacks in my opinion. They have very similar stats. Pro Football Focus rated them 14th and 15th in the NFL. Stafford 14, Kirk 15 this past season. So they're similar quarterbacks. I don't think Carolina will give us a top 10 pick for Kirk and Teddy. So I guess that if this is very theoretical, but reckless speculation, I guess, if Carolina offers us Teddy B and a second or third round pick for Kirk, would you take that deal? And the thing is, so you get off the cap space with Kirk, and Teddy has one more year on his contract, and then you can go get a young guy or a free agent, something like that.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean, Zimmer would probably love to have Teddy B back. And
That's the only quarterback Zimmer's ever liked. The
yeah.
only quarterback. He hates Kirk. It is so obvious how much he hates Kirk Cousins. Like he does not like giving him the ball. He's like, "Here, Dalvin, run it 30 times." I'm telling Dalvin's gonna get hurt this year. I can already feel it. He's gonna get hurt next season.
I mean, thank God we had Jefferson, because
Seriously.
the thing with our offense is it's a lot of give Dalvin the ball 20, 25 times and then run a play action
Yeah.
where Jefferson's, running down the sideline and he's open for a touchdown. But I
Yeah.
agree with you. We can't I wish it was like 15 to 20. I get he's effective when you give him that many carries, but the shelf life of running backs is so low, and I do not
Yeah.
want to, because he's already had bad injuries, and I don't want to see him
Mhm.
go down again.
No, yeah, I agree with you. Last question about Kirk. Can he lead us? Can he lead this Vikings team? Can he lead them to the Super Bowl?
Currently constructed, no, but I mean, in the past, you've seen teams with really, really elite defenses, and he's not even bad in our offense, especially with Jefferson and Cooks. If we get better pieces surrounding him, I can see it. I mean, you saw last season with not the Vikings, the Niners with Jimmy G at the helm. I mean,
Yeah.
their defense, number one defense, their offense. I would say our offense was probably better than what they had in San Francisco. So
Yeah.
I definitely think with a great defense, we could get there.
Yeah. And San Francisco has the same issue. Kyle Shanahan doesn't trust Jimmy G. He likes Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard more. And Zimmer's the same way. He hates Kirk Cousins. All he cares about is defense. He's only loved Teddy B, and that's because I don't even know why he loves. I think it's because he was part of the draft room, maybe, and we drafted him. That might be why. But like, he hated Case Keenum, hated Sam Bradford, hated Kirk Cousins, and but yeah, they have the same issue. The 49ers and Vikings, their coaches don't trust their quarterbacks. I really hope, like, we have the let Russ cook. Like, let's start this trend. Like, let Kirk cook. Let's start that one. Let's start that one. And I think if Zimmer gave him the more chances to throw, less runs to Dalvin, maybe. I think they can win the division this year. I think Rodgers' situation in Green Bay is not good. Detroit's rebuilding, and Chicago, I don't even know what's going on. There's a new trade rumor every hour about them for a different quarterback.
Yeah, and the Packers just lost their D coordinator, and they were
Yeah, I
ninth
saw
this
that.
year.
Yep. And
So if their defense falls off, I mean, there's probably a chance there. And the Packers hate giving Aaron Rodgers help in the draft, so anything can happen.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, Switching up, I've wanted to ask this to you real quickly, but our Dodgers, baby, our Dodgers got Trevor Bauer. That was like a week and a
Power
half ago.
outage, yes.
Yes, Trevor Bauer outage. Spring pitchers and catchers report in like next week,
Oh.
really. And but my question is Justin Turner coming back?
See, the problem is he wants a longer 4 year because he knows like this is the last big deal he's gonna get. And I've been a lot of the rumors are Dodgers are only wanting to give him 2,
Mm-hmm.
and we really don't have like a third baseman. Like it would either be Edwin Rios or
Don't
Schiff.
disrespect the human power man of Edwin Rios.
Like,
That
he's
dude
a
hits
good batter,
bombs.
but like full time at third. I mean,
Oh,
Turner
I
is a
know.
great defensive
Yeah.
player at third, and I saw a stat someone put up like it was like 1 of 30 bats that Turner gets an error, and then like Rios and Muncy were like 1 in 12. So it's
Oh my
definitely a
gosh.
gap. I
Yeah.
think he
No.
does come back. I don't know. It's just he's from LA, and I mean, is 2 years really going to matter that much to him? I hope not. And we really need him because if we shift Muncy to third, I mean, does Cody come back to first? Then who plays in the outfield? So it's a really dicey situation.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I hear that part of it, but my part of it is he's given 6 years to the Dodgers. I think the worst, like, okay, give him 2 more years and maybe he plays really crappy for 2 years, but you have 2 more really solid years of him. So if it ends up being a 3 or 4 year deal, I won't be mad about it. I hope he can stay because I mean he's a fan favorite and he's a great
Definitely.
locker room guy. We've already lost Kike, who is a great locker room guy. So hopefully Turner comes back. But how excited are you for Dodger Padre games the next like 3 or 4 years, man?
They say there's a rivalry, but I mean, last time I checked, we swept them in the playoffs. So I don't know what rivalry they're talking about.
Oh my gosh, George, don't start talking all this because every time the Dodgers lose to the Padres, this video is gonna get sent out and see
I'm
like,
gonna I'm
what
gonna
did you
go
say about him?
viral. Give me on ESPN. I don't care.
Who are those Padre fans that you saw that TikTok during the playoffs, right? They
Oh yeah,
recreated, California Love, but about beating the Dodgers. Yeah.
yeah, and like I think it was when they clinched or something. They were like
Yep.
going out in the streets like they had won like won the World Series. I'm like, what are y'all
Uh,
doing?
I know. I just hope there's fans there because those are going to be good games. The star power, I mean, that's the NL All Star team right there. Is all those players from those teams. But yeah, I'm excited for Dodger baseball. Excited to see Bauer wearing a Dodger blue in that pitching rotation. Um, that fifth starter spot, there's about 3 names going around for that last spot because you have Bueller, Bauer, Kershaw, Price. And then that last spot, is it May? Is it Gonsolin? And some people are even saying Urias.
I mean, Urias was phenomenal coming out of the pen. I know he's a regular starter. Gonsolin was shaky in the playoffs. I know he pitched in the NLCS against the Braves and he got lit up. So I
Mhm.
think it would be better if he was more of like a mid-inning reliever, like 2 or 3 innings, and maybe an occasional start if Kershaw. Because I think we might rest him more because he gets those tacky injuries. He has a bad back.
Yeah,
I
for
would
sure.
definitely see May slotting in to that starting role because he was starting last year and he also relieved in the playoffs. He was pretty good, but I definitely see him. I definitely have him slotted in as fifth for me.
Okay, nice. Yeah, MLB.com posted out the rotation and they had Urias, and I'm like, he's better out of the bullpen. In my opinion, I hope he stays in the bullpen because that's where he's just dominant. Um, and yeah, I'm with you on Dustin May. He had a good regular season. Postseason was a little shaky, but I can't blame him. It was his first time there. He's only going to get better with experience. Um, Who's going to be the closer for the Dodgers, though? Jansen's still a free agent. You have Trinan, you have Gratterall, and you signed Corey Knebel. You have some names there, but who do you think that closer role, or you still have Joe Kelly? Who's that closer role going to?
Well, I know during the postseason we absolutely love Brewstar Gratterall. I mean, the guy's energy. You
Yes.
love his celebration after he gets out of
Oh
the
my
inning.
God,
I
that
don't know what he does.
bazooka.
I don't know what he does, but his energy is great. That 100-mile-per-hour fastball. I mean, when we got him in the Mookie trade, I'm like, oh, this guy's probably just like a throw-in or something. And then all of a sudden I see videos, he's gunning 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. I'm like, wow. And I actually wanted him to close over Kenley in many of the postseason games.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
for like even Urias could maybe close because he closed the World Series.
He
So,
closed the CS too in Game 7. Yeah,
mhm.
he could be a closer. I would be okay with Julio being a closer. I would be okay with that. Gratterall, I would love that move. Yeah, it was funny when we got him from the Twins, he was a top 5 prospect for Kenta Maeda, who I love Maeda. He was good, but he is no Bruce Star Gratterall. But yeah, and I think Trinan's still in the mix. He had a really solid year. Up there in age. So I think at the beginning in spring training, they're going to test it out. And I think in the regular season, you're probably going to see 3 or 4 different guys try and close out games. And it's basically who's hot and who's not. I think who'll get that closer role.
I definitely think Gratterall will probably be best as a setup man in the eighth because
Mm-hmm.
maybe you feel like, okay, he throws a lot of heat and you don't want to overwhelm him in the ninth. And
Yeah.
he was like the seventh inning, eighth inning guy. So I think that might be best fit for him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that. So I want to end this time with you with a little segment. I'm gonna call it yay or nay. I'm gonna go over some
Ooh.
NBA teams. So I just want you to tell me, are they contenders? Now, what I mean by contender is, can they make the conference finals or NBA finals? That's
Okay.
what I mean. Are they a contender?
Yes. All right.
Philadelphia 76ers.
Yay. I actually have him making the finals out east, coming out of the east. So
Oh man. Oh man. This podcast will hate me if they make that because I have shit on the 76ers since I started this thing. So I'm still like, I still want to be skeptical, but Embiid's an MVP candidate. He might win it if he keeps it up. Tobias has been inconsistent at times, I guess, but he's gone off sometimes. Ben Simmons is Ben Simmons. The Sixers team is really good. I'm looking at the East and it's like, who can beat them? I don't know if Milwaukee can. I don't know. Maybe Boston. I don't know. I
the
don't know
thing
who can
with
beat them.
they have a matchup nightmare with Embiid. I mean, really, not many. Like if you put Giannis on in, maybe. I mean, the Nets have nobody. The Heat, if they get back up there, Bam could. But I mean, they've had really bad struggles.
Yeah.
But the one thing that actually scares me the most is that Doc Rivers is their head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. He if he gets him to the finals, like he took that team to the finals when their other coach couldn't. He couldn't do it, and there was so much bad blood there. And like Simmons hates Embiid hates Simmons. Tobias Harris doesn't like being here either. Like all of this, and then Doc Rivers comes, and you don't hear a peep from them. I mean, I commend him. That big credit to Doc Rivers on that. Your Greek Freak Bucks are they a contender?
Yeah, yeah. I think this year they get back to the conference finals. Last year they flamed out in the second round in 5 games. I really like the
Which I
Drew
called.
Holiday.
Which I called. I called. I said that. I said that.
um, I really like the Drew Holiday edition. Chris Middleton has been on fire this season, 50, 40, 90 guy. Um, I just think that I just hope they don't get into a matchup with like the Heat because
Yeah.
the thing with them is like the Heat and the Raptors, the last 2 postseasons they played, they have the personnel to build that wall that they just shut him down in the paint. They don't let him get anything inside and let him settle. And I think this year, especially with the Heat struggling, there's a lot less teams with that personnel. I really want to see them get into a match with the Nets because I think they can. I think they match up really well with them.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I agree with that. If they meet the Nets, I think they could beat them. I think I would say that they are a contender. I think they can make the conference finals. I could see them in Philadelphia going 6, 7 games, maybe. That'd be a really good series. Is Brooklyn a contender?
I feel like you almost have to say yes with the offensive firepower, but the defense just really, really scares me. I mean, they're like it's not like they're getting beat by like these really, really good teams. I mean, the Wizards, like
Yeah.
they beat them twice, and the Wizards have like 6 wins.
Yeah.
And it's just like anybody goes off for a career high. Jeremy Grant went off for a career high against them. And it's just like they're just handing out these gifts.
Yeah.
They could,
They have no defense. They
I
have no
mean,
defense.
it would be interesting to see like if the Heat end up getting like the 7th seed and Brooklyn gets 2, like they could
Oh,
go out in the first
that would be
round.
a
Who knows?
nightmare. That would be a nightmare for Brooklyn because yeah, they have no defense. The Heat have a lot of defense. And I'm gonna be preaching it. Defense wins championships. Brooklyn is not gonna win a championship with this team. They need to trade,
Bold
which they
take,
don't have
bold
anyone to
take.
trade. They don't have any trade people to get a defensive guy. You guys talked about Noah Vonleh. Woo.
Yeah,
Woo.
yeah. Josh Rhodes was the same way. He did not like Noah Vonleh at all when we talked about it.
He's not going to play. He's not going to do anything productive for that team. But
No, and people think that they can get Drummond. I'm like, you think they're gonna buy the Cavs are gonna buy out Andre freaking Drummond, a 15 and 15 guy?
Who do they have to trade for him too?
Joe Harris. That's about it, really.
Right? And there's no way Cleveland takes that offer. Drummond's going to the Hornets. You heard it here. Drummond's going to the Hornets.
Yeah. You did bring that up. We're actually gonna
I
address that
did.
on tomorrow night's podcast. So
Yes. I can't wait to hear what y'all say about that. I guess I'll throw it out there for funsies. Is Charlotte a contender?
as much as I love watching him play, no, I just
Fair enough.
they're just a young team. They're box office for sure. I mean, Gordon Hayward playing like an all-star. I mean, might make
I know
it. Who
that
knows?
contract doesn't look as bad as it started out because when they signed him, everyone's like, that is so much money. And then he's dropping 30, 35 a game. I'm like, it's working. It's working there. And now we'll switch it up. Okay, I'll bring up one more team in the East. Is Boston a contender?
I don't think so. I mean, they have a really, really glaring problem with their bigs. Tristan Thompson and Tice, they're not playing good at all. And Boston used their whole mid-level exception to sign Tristan Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you saw it against the Lakers. I mean, Brown and Tatum combined for 55, 60 points, and they still lost, So
yeah,
their bench, Jeff Teague's been playing horrible. Kemba Walker's been playing horrible since coming back. And I just don't know how much I just, especially like in a matchup with like the Nets, they won't have the firepower at all to match them.
this is the worst time for me because Kemba's my favorite NBA player. He's on Boston, which sucks, but I hate to see Kemba playing like this because I'm waiting for cardiac Kemba to come back. He's been missing, but it's March Madness time, so you never know. But in the West, so the Sixers just lost to the Suns like a minute ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just went final.
Yeah, D-Book hit a logo 3 and dropped 36 because he's D-Book. Are the Suns a contender?
Conference finals. Oh. I mean, let's go with this here. If they make the 4th seed, and I probably feel like they could beat whoever's at 5. I think Portland's there right now. I definitely see the Suns beating them. And then you look, Utah's at 1st. Do I think the Suns could beat Utah? I think they can. I honestly think Chris Paul in a series, in a playoff series, Ayton's playing well against Gobert. Mikal Bridges is a phenomenal wing defender, and I think he can go up against Spida. And they just have a really complete team. So yeah, you know what? Might be a little bit of a hot take. I don't know how my podcast partners are going to feel about this because I don't think we've even talked about the Suns being that high. Sure, I'll throw them up there.
Okay, you said a 4 seed. I did a preview before the season started with a buddy of mine, and I said Phoenix would finish in the top 3 in the West. You think they could grab that 3rd seed?
Unfortunately, no. Like 2 LA teams in Utah. I think Utah's on a mission to get that 1st seed because if they get the 1st seed, they avoid Lakers Clippers in the 2nd round because last year they didn't even get to the 2nd round because
they ran into the Nuggets.
Yeah, the West, the Nuggets who also took down the Clippers. But if they get the 1st seed, they avoid the Lakers or Clippers, and I think they're gonna end up getting that 1st seed. So
okay, speaking of Denver, they're the 7th seed right now in the West. Are they a contender?
Honestly, I don't think so. They had 2 really big losses in the offseason. They lost Jeremy Grant, who was their best wing defender by far. He was
Yep.
guarding LeBron in the
Yep.
conference finals, even though that didn't matter. They lost Torrey Craig, another great 3-and-D guy. Jokic has had to do everything. Jamal Murray fell back down from earth because he was playing
Yep.
like 2016 Steph Curry in the bubble. Harris and Barton they've been inconsistent. So I don't know, especially because right now they play us in the first round. I don't see him getting.
Yeah. Right now they'd be playing the Lakers, and I think the Lakers are doing that. We both know the Lakers are contenders. I'm not even gonna ask you that. We both know the Lakers are contenders.
Hmm.
Um, I think we can both agree. Are the Clippers contenders?
Definitely.
I would say
Definitely.
yes. It just depends on Paul George in the playoffs.
They're better. They're better than last year for sure. And Serge Ibaka was a great pickup in replacing Trez. I really like him for that team, especially when they go small.
Yeah.
PG has been playing like an MVP caliber guy, but he's not going to get anywhere near MVP. T. Lue is a better coach than Doc, but I haven't noticed anything really different about the Clippers this
No,
season.
yeah.
Like
It
in
seems like
coaching,
the same.
in coaching styles. Yeah, he was his assistant coach, and people are like, "Oh, they don't have Doc now." It's like he's not really implementing anything new. So
So right now, Dallas 13-14 right now hold the 9 seed. Golden State's in front of them, but is Dallas? I don't think I'm not going to call them a contender, but does Dallas get into the playoffs?
I don't. When you I think playing they can get in because of the firepower with Luca and KP, and I don't think they get into the top 8. I think the Warriors will jump him because he's playing like his MVP like self. So yeah, I have him getting in the play-in, not playoffs.
Okay, and second to last question, last NBA question for you here. The New York Knicks, Obi Toppin, RJ Barrett, are they getting into the playoffs this year? They did just lose Mitchell Robinson. I think it's
Yeah,
4 to 6 weeks, they said. Is
fractured
that
wrist.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
fractured
fractured
his wrist.
wrist.
So that's a that's a big loss for them in my opinion. He's a solid guy. I think Julius Randle, I think he'll step up, but are the Knicks going to get into the playoffs?
For the fun of it, yes. I want to see him get in. Julius Randle been playing like an all-star. That's my
Stephen A
guy.
is going to get to see him. Stephen A is going to get to see him in the
My,
playoffs.
my dream is like Nets Knicks as a playoff series. I think the Nets will throttle them in 5 games, but with the way that Tibbs is running these guys I think RJ and Julius lead the league in minutes. So the fact that they're going to be playing hard every night, I think gets them wins, especially the East is so inconsistent right now. I think the Kings have like the same record as a 5 seed in the East, which is just shows you how crazy deep the West is. So I'm going to say that the Knicks will get in when it settles.
All righty. One last question for you, George. March Madness is coming up. So, and I know your UCLA Bruins are going to get in, but there's probably going to be no Duke. There's going to be no Kentucky. UNC's on the border. I mean, these blue bloods, Kansas, it might, maybe, probably, I don't know. But and I know the seeds aren't out or anything, but who is your favorite to win the big dance this year?
I got Gonzaga this year. They've been playing really well to start, and I think they have Jalen Suggs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's been playing really well. Gonzaga's just always been consistent. And yeah, like you said, no blue bloods, Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, UNC. It's been wild, and unfortunately, UCLA. We've been hampered by injuries. We lost one of our guys with an ACL. We got smacked by USC because we didn't have our 2 other guys.
You went to 3 overtimes with Pepperdine early on in the year. I was watching that game.
It's deflating because UCLA has always been like slowly getting there nationally, but we had a 5-star that opted out to the G League this year, and it's deflating. I don't think we're gonna get far.
Yeah, I hear you with Gonzaga. I think Baylor's up there. I think they could contend with them. Gonzaga did beat Baylor early in the year. I know Gonzaga's in a weak conference, but they beat some really good opponents early in the year. I think it's Gonzaga and Baylor are my 2 favorites. If you gave me a dark horse, Oklahoma State, Cade Cunningham.
Oh, Cade, I love balling. Yeah.
They've beaten some pretty solid teams. They could make a run. I don't know if they can beat Gonzaga or Baylor, but I think they could get into, Elite 8.
I definitely see Cade Cunningham as a star. He's probably going to end up being the number 1 overall pick. So
yeah,
that's definitely a good dark horse candidate.
All righty, George, thank you so much for joining me. That's all we got. Go listen to 2.5 Hoopers podcast. Follow George. George, where can where can my listeners find you on the socials?
Me personally or our podcast?
Both.
George 21 Martin on Instagram, and then at TH Hoopers, all lowercase, on Instagram, Twitter, and Spotify.
Okay. Are you on? I wasn't sure. Are you guys on YouTube yet for 2.5 Hoopers?
So we have a channel. It's also at TH Hoopers, but we haven't been able to upload there yet. Just Spotify for now.
Got it. Sounds good. All right, George. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, Josh. This was really fun.
Of
We
course.
gotta get everyone on soon next. Our whole podcast.
Yes, we're gonna do that. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for today's episode. This has been Josh Minokowski of the J Sports Podcast. Peace.